Now it's GMT. Hello and welcome to News 360 from the News Hub here in Accra. I am Issa Moni.
And I'm Natalie Ford. A look at the top stories this evening.
News 360 Headlines is brought to you by Deluxe Paid, Heaven Black Mosquito Coil and Spray,
Premier Health Insurance.
Presidential press corps under the Mahama administration demand the report on the accident which claimed the life of a Ghanaian Times reporter and injured several others.
Former Deputy Force Commander and Chief of Staff for the UN Assistance Mission for Rwanda, General Henry Anyidoho, extols the late UN Secretary General Kofi Annan's humble but persistent and firm nature.
Also ahead this evening, Driver Vehicle and Licensing Authority DVLA to digitize vehicle registration and number plating systems.
Commercial drivers request government to stabilize price of petroleum products.
And on the foreign front, Pope Francis condemns child sex abuse and clerical cover-ups in a letter to the world's 1.2 billion Roman Catholics. Stay with us here on News 360. We bring you the details of these stories and some more news. As always, our bulletin is streaming live all across the world on 3news.com and TV3 Ghana on Facebook. And our very first story this evening, members of the Presidential Press Corps under the John Mahama administration are demanding the report on the accident which claimed the life of a Ghanaian Times reporter and left several others injured. After 3 years, there is growing anger amongst the victims who insist the accident could have been avoided. Here's a report by Komla Kluche.
Born on July 29, 1979, Samuel Nyama was attached to the Flagstaff House as a correspondent for the state-owned Ghanaian Times. His life was cut short after a gruesome accident when the presidential team was turning from the Volta region with a hired Ford bus where the journalists were packed into. The car burst its tire with the vehicle overturning and landing in a ditch. William Gento, the Peace FM correspondent, suffered severe injuries and the pain lingers on. Despite undergoing several surgeries, his right arm is yet to heal. High emotions as Nyama's colleagues remember his 3rd anniversary at his burial.
We pray that the Lord will continue to keep you.
There's growing anger amongst the past members of the Presidential Press Corps who say the accident was not fully investigated. Details of the hired Ford in which the pressmen were packed has never been put out after the accident. Information gathered later indicated the vehicle was not insured as it was hired from a private carport. This, the then government refused to address.
If someone was supposed to do something which could have averted this whole saga and deliberately couldn't do it, God is our judge.
We made efforts to meet the president. Even after the accident, we made efforts to talk to the president, but that didn't come up. Can you imagine a president who refuses to meet his press corps? It's unthinkable.
Criticisms have been leveled at the past leadership of the press corps as having failed in cooperating with the police to unravel the cause of the accident, an allegation TV3's Edward Kwame, who was the secretary to the press corps, who himself suffered severe leg injury, has denied.
We expected the report to be made public. Some of us, as an executive, have had the opportunity to see the report. This is a report which is not complete because I think that it's been forwarded to the Attorney General for the necessary action to be taken. Everybody cooperated with the police. Apart from making it public, they should be able to find somebody culpable and somebody should be punished for what happened.
Efforts to reach the past handlers of the Presidential Press Corps to respond to the issue proved unsuccessful. Komla Kluche, TV3 News, Accra.
And now, former Deputy Force Commander and Chief of Staff for the UN Assistance Mission for Rwanda, General Henry Anyidoho, has described the late UN Secretary General Kofi Annan as a guiding force for diplomacy and human rights. In an interview with Godfrey Tanam, he stressed leadership in the country should learn from Kofi Annan's humble but persistent and firm nature.
Tributes continue to pour in for the late UN Secretary General, with the current General Secretary of the UN, Antonio Guterres, describing him as a good friend and a mentor. Many others have expressed their condolences and stated how close they were with the late UN boss. For the former Deputy Force Commander and Chief of Staff for the UN Assistance Mission for Rwanda, General Henry Anyidoho, his contact with Kofi Annan gave him the opportunity to serve the world in his capacity as an army general.
I remember at one time when he visited the African Union headquarters, they were trying to establish a closer relationship between the UN and the AU for the management of all these crises in Africa. At the end of the day, he sent for me and I met him one-on-one. And we talked at length, and he expressed his views to me, what he thought the African Union should be doing towards solving these many conflicts on the continent. And that was the reason why he actually got me involved, recruited to work to assist the AU on behalf of the UN after I left the military.
He described Kofi Annan as a diplomat and someone who was humble but persistent in his line of duty.
And he knew exactly how to play his diplomacy, whom to relate to and at what time. And all colleagues that he worked with at that time that I knew, his closest staffs, which I also got closely related to, respected him for that, being able to work with all of them.
Kofi Annan, he said, served the world selflessly even after he left office as the UN Secretary General.
Despite differences in opinion from other areas, but saying so not too loudly, in a very modest manner, but with emphasis. His persistent demand for human beings to live a better life, not necessarily using his position as a former Secretary General and aspired to do anything else higher than that. He never tried to go into politics or to do any other thing, but he remained focused.
He is of the view there are a lot of attributes about the diplomat Ghanaians can learn from.
Now, world-renowned economist and former advisor to Kofi Annan has joined the millions of voices who have paid their respects to the memory of the late UN Secretary General. Public policy analyst and director of the Earth Institute at Columbia University, Professor Jeffrey David Sachs, says the greatest respect to the memory of Dr. Kofi Annan will be the achievement of the UN set SDGs. He spoke earlier in a Skype interview. How exactly did you receive the news of his passing?
I just heard it over the wire services, and I was shocked because my memory and image of Kofi is as dynamic as always, and I didn't know about his recent brief illness. He was traveling, and so I was shocked like the whole world. Now,
you've worked with the United Nations, you work closely with him. Can you describe what are your fond memories of Kofi Annan?
He was the most charming, dignified, gracious, and sweet, an absolutely remarkable person who you always felt just a joy and an honor to be with. I had 10 lucky years to work with Kofi during his time as Secretary General, and every experience was exciting. Every experience was a lesson for me in how the world's consummate diplomat understood issues and treated issues, and I was always amazed because he accomplished so much, and I got to watch that close up.
I mean, given that when he stepped down, he went on to set up his foundation, clearly showing his passion for for humanitarianism. How would you say that the global community should carry on his legacy?
He loved the UN, of course. That was his life's work, both his career up to and then including being Secretary General, and then afterwards. He was on mission after mission for the Secretary General. He was always trying to find peace. The UN is our meeting grounds for the world. It's the place where we talk rather than have war. It's the place where we can find compromise. It's the place where we can find common agreement. And I think the greatest way to honor Kofi Annan's legacy is to live by the UN Charter, live by the moral charter, which is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and to achieve the goals that the UN has set. Kofi put us on the path of ending poverty with the Millennium Development Goals. Now we have the Sustainable Development Goals to bring extreme poverty to an end by 2030. President Akufo-Addo is one of the world leaders of the Sustainable Development Goals. Achieving the SDGs would be the mark of Kofi's inspiration to the whole world. Achieving the Paris Climate Agreement to keep the world safe from human-induced warming be another legacy and inspiration. We should honor Kofi by accomplishing what he always helped to guide us to, and that is the common good.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sachs. Grateful.
Thank you.
Now let's turn to some education issues on NEWS360. The West African Examinations Council says it is yet to release the 2018 Basic Education Certificate Examination results. A release signed by the head of public affairs urged the public to disregard any information that purports that the council has released the results. Dismissing some media reports, the council says it will issue a statement announcing the release of the results after all post-examination processes have been completed.
And some other news this evening, founder of AUCC, Professor Kojo Iyanka, has appealed to government to make either the kente or the batakari an official parliamentary wear. At a forum to mark World Folklore Day, he argued that Ghana is doing little to preserve for posterity its cultural heritage.
The insurgence of foreign culture and evolution of a technological era appears to have made Ghanaian folklore take a backseat to foreign culture. It is in the wake of this development that the National Folklore Board was set up. Its mandate is to see to the registration and protection of folklore and levying of fees for folklore use outside the authorized scope. Founder of AUCC, Professor Kojo Iyanka, fears that if care is not taken, the Ghanaian brand identity may be lost on the international market space.
Some of our tour guides do not wear anything one can call Ghanaian. The sluggish attitude of receptionists at our destinations puts some people off. And courtesy remains a luxury in some restaurants. I'll conclude that we have to work extra hard in branding Ghana because we have not accepted and owned the very essence of our identity as Ghanaians.
Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture, Catherine Afeku, urged Ghanaians to help strengthen tourism and culture by patronizing Ghanaian sceneries and other folkloric elements.
You cannot but appreciate our Adinkra symbols, our kente cloth, our festivals, and yes, the spoken word. If we collectively as a nation start the journey of appreciation of our own heritage, yes, we can use folklore to create jobs and brand Ghana.
Currently, the board is focused on sensitizing folklore users about their obligations and educating the public on the social and economic benefits of folklore to society.
And the Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, says the African Capacity Building Foundation is critical in addressing youth unemployment. The foundation has invested in excess of $37 million in capacity building and financial support to improve doing business in Ghana.
Ghana's Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is the chair of the governing board of the African Capacity Building Foundation, ACBF, for the next 2 years. The foundation, which has been granted the status of a specialized agency because of its potential to transform Africa through capacity development, consists of finance ministers of African countries partnered by the World Bank, African Development Bank, and the United Nations Development Programme, and some non-regional partners. The foundation, since its inception in 1991, has committed about $700 million towards numerous capacity-building initiatives in 48 countries in Africa and 8 regional economic communities in Africa.
Countries like Rwanda, like Ghana, like Kenya, Senegal, we have really helped them to really articulate the gaps that they have so that they will be able to invest in the proper areas that will help them to improve their policy making, implement those policies, because you know policy implementation is a major problem in Africa.
The Executive Secretary noted African countries have so far contributed $3.38 million towards capacity building in addressing the continent's transformational growth needs. The amount is, however, only 34% of the targeted $5 million earmarked by the African Capacity Building Foundation. Minister for Finance Ken Ofori-Atta noted the foundation is critical in addressing the continent's youth unemployment.
So my expectation, especially with them being here, is to encourage them to look at those intractable problems that we need to tackle as a continent, which is revenue, mobilization, digitalization, which is important to us, the whole issue of the future of work, and therefore how we train our youth, which you know about the demographic dividend. If we don't manage it well, it could become a disaster.
As the African Union's specialized agency for capacity development, following over 27 years of work, the foundation is best placed to advise and support African countries, regional economic communities, and institutions on decisive steps to take to develop the practical skills urgently required for the continent's economic transformation.
Now, the Navrongo-Kologo Road in the Kassina-Nankana municipality in the Upper East region is flooded following a downpour. The entire stretch has developed gullies due to erosion, cutting off some communities from the municipality. Here's reports by Tanko Mohammed Rabiu.
Kologo and adjoining communities in the Kassina-Nankana municipal could be described as a food basket of the Upper East region, producing cereals, vegetables, tubers and livestock for both the local and international markets. The recent rains have flooded 3 sections of the road, leaving gullies. Only 4-wheel drives can cross. These young boys are cashing in by aiding people to cross over to the other side by charging between 2 and 5 cities. The road from Navrongo to Kologo and other communities is seriously damaged and always gets flooded anytime it rains.
Let's turn to MTN video reporting. Today, our citizen journalist Hussein Abubakar Dana highlights the poor state of road at Tamale in the northern region.
The road is leaking from Nabogu to Tamalegu. See how the bad nature of the road is. During rainy season like this, vehicles cannot pass, motorbike can never pass. So several lives has been lost here. So we are pleading of government of Ghana to come to our aid with a bridge so that we can have a comfortable transportation for the good people of Ghana. This is Hussein Abubakar Dana reporting.
quite a dangerous road right there. You can also send your video report via WhatsApp on 055-1433-044.
It's still live here on News 360 all across the world. You're watching us on 3news.com. We've got some news from the world of business coming up shortly. Stay with us.
Hello, good evening, and thanks for staying with us on News 360. It's time for business with me, Nanekuya Mensah Brampan, talking about the latest updates regarding that fuel price increase. Commercial drivers are calling on government to stabilize prices of petroleum products. Now, they were reacting to the 2% fuel price increase at the pump. The 2% upward adjustment in fuel prices at most of the local pumps comes as the latest price review by the National Petroleum Authority to reflect world market trends. This is in line with the government's resolve not to interfere with the authority's bi-monthly review by way of subsidies for consumers. Checks at some fuel stations show some outlets have increased their prices by 2%. Some have stayed their prices, while others have reduced their prices. Total and Goil were previously selling both petrol for 4 Ghana cedis 85 pesos per litre. Total and Goil are now selling petrol at 4 Ghana cedis 90 pesos and diesel at 4 Ghana cedis 94 pesos per litre. Shell was previously selling petrol at 4 Ghana cedis 95 pesos, but now selling it at 4 Ghana cedis 90 pesos per litre. Diesel was previously sold by Shell for 4 Ghana cedis 95 pesos per litre. It is being sold now for 4 Ghana cedis 94 pesos per litre. At Frames Oil, the prices of both petrol and diesel remains at 4 Ghana cedis 83 pesos. Some commercial drivers have called on government to help stabilize fuel prices at the local pumps.
Your fuel prices in fact,
fuel prices are killing us. Work is not profitable. The president, as a candidate, promised to reduce fuel prices, but now prices are very high. Government should come to our aid. Previously, when I filled my fuel tank, I made about 100 cedis in revenue, but now I barely make 50 cedis with the same quantity of fuel. When I bought 100 cedis worth of fuel, I could work 5 trips, but now I make 4 trips with the same quantity of fuel. Government should intervene.
Well, so you would decide where you would want to buy looking at the variation in prices. But let's move away from that. An outgoing Minister for Aviation, Cecilia Dapa, says government will by the end of the year conclude its negotiations for a home-based airline carrier for the country. Now, taking her turn at the Meet the Press series in Accra, she said the ministry is currently in negotiations with Air Mauritius and Abu Dhabi Aviation while continuing discussions with Ethiopian Airlines and other strategic investors to establish a home-based carrier with Ghanaian participation.
The Meet the Press engagement is the final official assignment for the outgoing sector minister. She reviewed her work for the past 2 years, indicating areas the ministry has chalked success and the way forward. Highlights of her briefing were on decoupling of air navigation services provision from the regulator, the construction of a modern air navigation services center, and the construction of a new Ghana Aviation Training Academy complex.
Ghana is working feverishly to obtain the FAA Category 1 status, which will allow airlines registered in Ghana to fly to the United States of America.
One issue which dominated the discussion was the need for a home-based airline for Ghana. She indicated that a home-based carrier with Ghanaian participation is the key to enable the country become the aviation hub for the sub-region.
Ghana is not going to establish a national airline. There's a difference between a national airline and a home-based carrier. Home-based carrier means The airline will sleep in Ghana, do everything in Ghana, like we have Ethiopian Airlines. But the government must have some little bit of interest to make sure it doesn't go under.
Stakeholders underscored the need to have a national airline instead of a home-based carrier, but the minister disagreed.
In the scheme of things for this new aviation ministry, there won't be any Ghana Airways. We are talking about, Ghana Airways was a national airline, and we all know what happened to it. So we have come back with this new policy of having a home-based carrier with strategic investors. They will be operating and controlling the airline that will come on board. This airline might fly the Ghana flag, could be giving some name, but still it will be more private.
She indicated that the construction of the whole airport has been completed and ready to be handed over.
And Guinness Ghana Brewery has presented 200 cartons of Origin Zero non-alcoholic beverage to the office of the National Chief Imam to support the upcoming Eid-al-Adha celebration. The National Chief Imam, Dr. Osman Nuhu Shaributu, believed when companies and institutions realize its objective, that is a primary objective, by giving back to society, it enhances development.
Origin Zero by Guinness Ghana Brewery is masterfully crafted with 100% natural herb and fruit extracts to satisfy those who do not consume alcohol. The communication and the employee engagement manager, Rita Ejiwa Roxon, said the brand has made remarkable strides since its inception and needs more blessings from religious bodies.
2 years ago, when we introduced Origin Zero, we presented it to him and a number of Muslim leaders, imams from different regions in the country for their blessing. And we have been very, very excited about the performance of the brand so far. So it is only ideal that as we celebrate Eid-al-Adha tomorrow, we make this presentation to them, for them to enjoy the Salah, after the prayers, after everything, take their chilled bottle of Origin Zero and enjoy the product.
She said the refreshingly tasty non-alcoholic addition to the Origin family is for any occasion.
The product is doing very, very well. And of course, Guinness Ghana is full of exciting things. So all we will say is consumers should look out for more. You never know what is coming up. So just get ready and Baraka de Salah, and as you enjoy it, look out for more exciting things from Origin Zero and Guinness Ghana Breweries Limited.
She reiterated the company's resolve to support Muslims in their spiritual exercise and called for peace and unity, which are essential to the country's development. The National Chief Imam, Dr. Osmanu Nuhu Shaributu, said a nation can develop rapidly when institutions and companies realize their objects and stress the need to support deprived communities. The non-alcoholic carbonated soft drink is a bittersweet, refreshing drink to be enjoyed every day.
All right, so that's our wrap-up on business. And on that note, we say Eid Mubarak to all our Muslim brothers and sisters. My name is Nanikia Mensah Brampa. Isa is standing by. Isa, negotiation for tomorrow. Don't forget.
Yes, Baraka de Salah to everybody. That's what you want. Is I've said it for you, Equia. Now let's do some more stories on NEWS360 tonight. The Driver Vehicle and Licensing Authority, DVLA, has begun a process to digitize all vehicle registration and number plating systems. The program, which kicks off on October 1 with the scanning of all customized number-plated vehicles, is to rationalize vehicle registration to ensure easy access to information and the reduction in illegal transactions.
Vehicle registration and licensing in Ghana has been characterized with fraud as middlemen continue to take undue advantage to cheat the system. Some even operate in a clear view of the DVLA with support from some unscrupulous staff. These experts say have resulted in numerous road traffic accidents. In a bid to address such challenges, the Driver Vehicle and Licensing Authority, DVLA, is going digital.
Our system has been compromised by these guru guys. Every vehicle by law are supposed to be registered by DVLA. But what some of these guys do is that they go out to register vehicles without the consent or the knowledge of DVLA. This exercise is to ensure that we certify the system, we clean the mess in the system.
Piloting with the customized number plate owners is to be conducted only at the national headquarters between October 1 and December 31. This will then be rolled out to the regions and at specific centers for all categories of vehicles.
This process is to digitize the whole system. We are starting with customized first, and then we have the diplomatic, and then subsequently to the rest. So at least we together sanitize the system so that we hook everybody onto the database. So we are going to connect everybody, every vehicle, even if you do the registration in Accra, the whole country should be hooked on.
The process begins with the capturing of manual data on all vehicles.
We first of all do the sorting. Documents are placed into two categories: scannable documents and non-scannable documents. Then after sorting, we'll take it to data entry, where we'll do the tracking of the various documents. And from there, we go to scanning. That's where the documents are placed into soft copy. We do post-sorting, and after that, we do validation.
But what happens to people who fall victim to fraudsters?
In the event if we detect that your license is fake, they will ask you to pay for the normal customized costs, which is 5,000.
Francis Asamoah Tufo also threw more light on other benefits of the new system.
We are going to convert the vehicle documents onto a small card in the form of the new smart card license, the driver's license, which contains detailed information of your vehicle. Then that will be given to you.
The DVLA urged the public to ensure all vehicle registration processes are undertaken by officials of the authority to avoid future embarrassment.
You're watching News 360. We'll return shortly. On international news tonight, Pope Francis has condemned the atrocities of child sex abuse and clerical cover-ups in a letter to the world's 1.2 billion Roman Catholics. The letter to the people of God calls for an end to the culture of death in the church, addresses failure to deal with abuse and asks for forgiveness. Last week, a grand jury report detailed 7 decades of abuse in Pennsylvania. The landmark investigations found more than 1,000 identifiable minors had been abused by 300 priests in the United States.
And still on the international front, about 22,000 people were rescued from the flood-hit Indian state of Kerala on Sunday, according to officials, after monsoon rains finally eased. Military teams, as well as disaster response forces and local fishermen, reached some of the worst-hit areas. And you can get some more international news on our website. It's 3news.com. Next on News 360 is entertainment with Miriam. Stay with us.
Hello there, I'm Miriam Osei Ajuman. It's time to do some entertainment news. Starting with film. Now, acclaimed actor Oscar Provençal has requested government to support the film industry create jobs for the youth. Speaking to TV3 on the sidelines of a stakeholders forum on the Development and Classification of Film Act 2016, the actor noted the industry could serve as a major source of employment if given the needed attention.
Beat that devil out of you, so you the master.
The film industry provides jobs such as scriptwriting, directing, camera works, acting, editing and presenting. In 2014, American film industry Hollywood sold 1.36 billion tickets compared to Bollywood's whopping 2.6 billion. In Ghana, the industry is less profitable.
We are appealing to governments to take a serious look at the creative arts industry, at film as a necessary tool for national development so that we can incorporate it in the national development plan of this country.
Oscar Provençal stressed the entertainment industry can help with job creation, as people can undertake short courses and acquire skills for long-term careers.
You have about 90 people per film being employed. I mean, if you do the mathematics, it shows you the potentials that you can have in reducing unemployment in this country, wealth creation. We have an issue concerning youth unemployment. So where you have an industry that can cater for the young people who are so, full of so much energy, so much talent, and yet they have no avenue to express it and to benefit from it, then there's a huge challenge.
Oscar Provençal is hopeful the implementation of the Development and Classification of Film Act 2016, Act 935, would help sanitize the industry. The new act seeks to provide the legal framework for the production, regulation, nurturing and development of the Ghanaian film industry, and for the distribution, exhibition and marketing of films and related matters.
Now from film to the studios of Onia 95.1, the much-anticipated rap show Akasemu, hosted by celebrated presenter Dr. Duncan on Onia 95.1 FM, kicked off last Saturday. Aside entertaining, the rap show is also aimed at putting the spotlight on rappers and projecting great music talents.
Honorable Vincent, audition or Pongo.
It felt great as Dr. Duncan took over the airwaves on Saturday night. The acclaimed presenter took followers back into time, playing classics from Nkase, Praye, Omanhin Pozo and other great musicians.
It's one time for your mind, yo. Ha Birdie. See my niggas on the block, yo. Explosion. Move to the left and to the right. 1+1.
Trust Dr. Duncan, the radio maestro, to put the spotlight on the finest of rap talent. Oh yes, the rappers came prepared, exhibiting their rap prowess with finesse.
I have the luck of the devil for coming this far, but my life is a Hindi movie. Slow motions, language troubles. I know the Bab, God, give me subtitles. Yeah, the 3 years, a mistake.
Ikuapem rapper Shankoma and Pope, a medical student at the University of Ghana, were among the first rappers to appear on the first edition of Akasemu.
Yeah. Okay. Me yo hene, uye me hema. Aware kwansu ye nyempena. Mamochena, yentena. Sika bebenti me muna ote.
Well, I listened and I loved it. I hope you make a date next week, Saturday. Away from radio, but still with music, the versatile music duo Famous has spoken highly of their collaboration with Black Star striker Emmanuel Boateng. The fast-rising group believe their partnership with the Levante star will give them a wider reach and endear their brands to fans across the world.
The Kasa-based duo hits the limelight after the release of popular song Nufono, a song that made huge waves in 2017. The group recently worked with Black Star striker Emmanuel Boateng in his 2018 song Oluwade. The duo are convinced the timing of their collaboration with a footballer is perfect, explaining it's helped keep their brand active, especially as they work towards the release of an album.
They help each other. If you do self-give, we are really self-give too. When I name they go, Charlie, now when I name they trying to Spain the things. You see that?
I think Oluwade is making massive waves out there.
The promising talent are determined to work hard in order to cement their place in the music industry.
Ghanaians need to know album is not something like easy, like because you just get one hit, so you want to just drop album. You need to feed your fans for them to like know you well, enjoy you well, and establish something before you can release an album. We don't want to just release an album because our people are releasing albums.
Without God in my life, I'm a walking dead. I see many people where they want me.
There's more news on 3news.com. My name is Miriam Osei Ajman. I'll catch you on the Urban Blend tomorrow on 3FM 92.7.
Well, and that is this edition of News 360. Thank you for watching. My name is Issa Mwani.
And I'm Natalie Fort. Remember, news at 10 later this evening will simulcast on our sister station. It's 3FM 92.7. Thanks for watching. Have a pleasant evening.